I'm gonna ask you a question that you might even be afraid to answer. Do you think Satoshi could be selling Bitcoin? Because a wallet from the Satoshi era sold 10,000 Bitcoins in a short period of time. Would Satoshi really do that? And why are Bitcoin and altcoins dropping? Are we entering a bear market? Let's take a look at these. Welcome to our new video. There's something I want to tell you that I find really funny. Have we entered a bear market? I see this on Twitter. A wallet from the Satoshi era is selling Bitcoin. Have we entered a bear market? Ethereum has dropped below $3,000. Have we entered a bear market? The 200-day moving average has been broken. Have we entered a bear market? This question strikes me as really funny because the people posting these tweets think we're in a bull market. The ones posting these tweets. Guys, it's really funny. We're right in the middle of a bear market right now. I mean, we've just gone through a very long losing season. Let's say Trump, he won in November 2004. Yes, there were some rallies in November and December, but apart from that, we had a whole year where we clearly lost. We're already living through a bear market. After some bad or good news comes out, what we should be asking is, could we be entering a bull market? Are we about to enter a bull market? Look, this isn't even a sideways period. We're feeling the bear market down to our bones. Yes, we're in a bear market. Anyway, let's get back to our topic. Satoshi is my hero. Could Satoshi be selling Bitcoin? Now friends, a screenshot was shared on the first site a few days ago. We can also check this wallet behind me, the Bitcoin wallet. A wallet from the Satoshi era hasn't moved for 14 years. And it was holding 10,000 units. He liquidated the Bitcoin, which is worth about $1 billion. Now, this is a really important piece of data. Bitcoin is a coin that isn't usually sold. But yes, there were people who believed in this back in Satoshi's son. Satoshi made some posts on BitcoinTalk.org, and there were people who got involved back then. There was no pre-sale for Bitcoin, but there are people who got in early and bought it for pennies, and they still hold Bitcoins. We often see that wallets from that era are now selling their Bitcoins. But I don't think these wallets belong to Satoshi. In fact, I don't think Satoshi can sell Bitcoin, because I think Satoshi's dead. I believe Satoshi has passed away. I mean, he's not alive, but Satoshi never did this for money anywhere. There are things much more important than money for Satoshi. A fair life, a fair human order. Satoshi lived for this and died for this cause. He didn't touch a single one of the Bitcoins he earned, so it was never about money. His name could be Hans, or Michael, or Haruto from the Far East, but he wanted to introduce himself with the name he chose himself, not the name his mother and father had given him. Satoshi Nakamoto. So in fact, he even discovered Web3 here. He invented Web3. Our own names, our own avatars, and our own money. He didn't use the paper money that was forced upon us, or the kind that those big companies can produce, you know, the ones whose market value is skyrocketing right now. He didn't want to use gold either. He wanted to invent a kind of money that we could all create together, where everything is controlled and belongs to us. For example, I saw this device you see here in 2025, that is last year, when I attended the Bitcoin 2025 conference in Vegas, and I bought it. This is a solo mining device. And yes, even with this, I can still mine Bitcoin, even though the chances are very, very, very low, much higher in the past. With the device I bought for $120, I can operate like a central bank, or like a gold mining. I can operate like a gold mining company. And like this, thousands, tens of thousands of independent producers are all mining this money together. Satoshi is dead. Can Bitcoin die too? There used to be an X account I really liked. I mean, I still like it, but it doesn't tweet anymore. Did Bitcoin die today? So did Bitcoin die today? That's the name of the account. And every day it would tweet no, 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 no. There were also a lot of people following it. It hasn't tweeted since 2004. Of course, that scared me a little. But no, guys, Bitcoin isn't dead. Now, in front of me, you can see Bitcoin's market cap, friends. Bitcoin's market cap has reached $2.5 trillion. Almost. It has surpassed $2 trillion. When you look at the financial markets and the history of finance, no asset class that has ever reached a $2 trillion market cap has disappeared. No asset class has ever ceased to exist. So I don't think Bitcoin will disappear. Governments are passing laws for it. Regulations are coming. Huge companies are chasing after it. Some countries are now accepting it as an official currency. This is very important. And while everyone has been criticizing it, fighting it, declaring it dead, for exactly 16 years it has been operating flawlessly. Look, without a single error. This is extremely valuable. And even the companies that used to say the worst things about it are now lining up to apply to buy Bitcoin. Today, BlackRock is one of the biggest Bitcoin buyers. So is Fidelity. Even JP Morgan, which criticized it for years, now offers its clients the opportunity to buy Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a flawlessly operating, the most decentralized, and the most real currency. That's how I see it. That's what I think, and I don't believe it will die. By the way, my friends, crypto is a long and deep journey. Right now, it's going through tough times. We may be experiencing this, but I also believe we'll go through good times. You can join our channel on this adventure and benefit from crypto-related content. Don't forget to subscribe and like the video. Is Bitcoin dead? This is an attention-grabbing headline. There is actually a website about this, fans. Bitcoindeads.com, and here, every time someone asks, is Bitcoin dead? They've created a chart for the times when both were shared a lot. They've also listed the people below, friends. And when we look at it, it's been thought that Bitcoin has died a total of 450 times. And it says, if you invest $100 every time someone says Bitcoin is dead, right now, friends, you would have $92.5 million. So if you had invested $100 each of the 450 times Bitcoin was declared dead, especially during the peak period in 2018, you would have a total of $92 million today. Come on, man, enough of the chatter. You might say that Bitcoin is a bad investment vehicle. You might ask, where's the money? Why can't we make profits? But the problem is you're not in Bitcoin. Friends, you're in altcoins. And even today, you still think it's too late for Bitcoin. But altcoins that have dropped by 20 times still seem attractive to you. Yet right now, you're looking at Bitcoin's weekly trend. Friends, for every chart. And even at its worst, Bitcoin has always experienced an upward trend in the medium and long term, friends. Even right now, it's not in a downtrend. Even in the short term, we see higher lows and higher highs. Even at this moment, Bitcoin is in an uptrend. That's the truth. Maybe one day when Bitcoin hits 500K, you'll say it's too late. People said this at 15K. Now at 89 to 90K, they say the same thing. They will likely keep saying it even at 500K. So accumulate gradually, because even a 5 times return is a huge amount of money. I mean, if you 5x your $50,000, it becomes $250,000. If you 5x your $10,000, it becomes $50,000. So, sir, if Bitcoin is so valuable, why isn't it going up right now? Actually, you already know the reason, but let's dive a little deeper into it. Because of the never-ending geopolitical crises, none of the risky assets can rise right now, friends. In fact, recently, even the Nasdaq has started to pull back. Trump wakes up one morning and wants Venezuela. Another morning, he talks about China tariffs. He wants Greenland, he wants Canada, friends. So we're going through an interesting year, actually interesting years. For example, Macron wrote a letter to Trump, and Trump shares this. Macron wrote this to me. He shares it saying he wrote a letter like, we're with you on Iran, we're with you on Syria, but not on Greenland. Normally, I think he shouldn't be sharing this. After this, Macron has now put Trump in his place, because the French also have their limits. I think Macron is now starting to draw the line to protect that boundary.
Let's try to ask about the world's most important problems in just a few minutes. But it's clear that the time we've reached explains much of the violence and many of the imbalances of this era, only in terms of safety, security, and economics. How well are we doing in this situation? The code we face with democracy is more political. In 2024, there will be 60 more political conflicts. Definitely a record. But I also explained that I definitely agree with some of them.
The WEF audience laughed. Yesterday, Trump said, is Somalia a country? And who is Kim in Somalia? So this is what we see here. There will be no limit to this. That's why people are coming out of risky times. Because the world order is changing, and this is pushing the US to be more isolated. I've been to America many times, friends. Those who follow me more or less know this. This April, I'll be in America again. America is by far the most powerful country in the world, economically and militarily. Anyone who sees it would now. America is the world's superpower with the strongest military. People accept this too, but that doesn't mean this. It doesn't mean I can challenge the whole world at once and take any country I want. In fact, the US has never really followed such a policy until now. But right now, things have turned into this. A little bit. There are also criticisms about this within the US itself. But in the end, today Macron or Europe said, should we get closer to China and Russia again? Canada said, let's create a new alliance between the EU and Canada. Let's protect each other. And Canada said this, referring to countries with medium power. They are talking about this for Canada. They say, we need to be united. If you'd said yes, problems would arise between the US and Russia. Problems would arise between the US and China as well, but no one could have predicted the possibility of problems between the US and the European Union. And now military units are being deployed, for example, to Greenland, and there is a risk. Yes, there is a very serious risk. And if you had said this just a short while ago, no one would have believed that such a possibility existed. Because in fact, the European Union, like the British, the Dutch, the Spanish, are basically brothers to the US. I mean, these are not just brother countries. 400 years ago, for example, from England, America is a country founded by people who migrated from Spain, the Netherlands, and those regions. But today, right now, those brothers are at risk. Given all this, then there's NATO's Article 5. Done with that. Could one strike the other? Would this one launch missiles at that one? These missiles fall on altcoins. There is risk. I really think that in the coming period, the risk will continue in 2026. In fact, it looks like this risk will even extend into 2027. Why? I'll explain that in a moment as well. By the way, guys, I use Binance. If you're also thinking about opening a crypto asset account, you can sign up on the Binance exchange using the link I shared in the video description or the QR code you see on the screen right now. You can earn up to $600 in bonuses and a 20% discount. Let me get back to the topic without digressing. Yes, Trump, he wakes up every morning with a different desire and stands in front of the cameras. But go to November 2024, the time of the election, when Trump has a chance of being elected, and the times when Trump is constantly praising altcoins or the crypto game. What happened then? Let's take a look at the charts. Look, friends, while Ethereum had dropped to $1,500, even $1,000, here in December 2024, it went up to $4,000. This is Solana, friends. It dropped to $12. Yes, then it recovered and rose to the $100 level. And look, this is the period when Trump was elected. Solana reached $300. AVAX, friends, had fallen below $10. Look, even recently, it was at the $15 level. But when Trump was elected around December 2024, it went above $50. So, is there a new election? You might say, teacher, what are you talking about? Yes, there is an election. There is an election in November. And in these midterm elections, Trump could lose the majority of votes. And it is expected that he will lose. And Trump says, if I lose the midterm elections, I will be impeached. He says they will remove me from office. Now, in such a scenario, as the elections approach, it is expected that altcoins will be hyped up. And if Trump loses the election, it is again expected that altcoins will revive. This is a good scenario for the crypto side. So either Trump will support altcoins, or again, the crypto scenario. Later on, this is not direct support for crypto, but rather valid support for financial markets. He needs to balance this stalled process in the world a bit, or he could lose the election. But actually, that's not the scenario. Friends, previously, Trump was impeached twice. Now, the impeachment process works like this. In the House of Representatives, if you get 50% plus, if one side gets the majority, they can initiate the impeachment process against Trump, which they have already done twice before. I think it will be initiated again. What needs to happen after that? The critical majority in the Senate is 2/3. In other words, the impeachment process needs to be approved by a 67% majority. Now, Trump, yes, he might lose 50% plus one, but no one expects him to lose up to 67%. That's why the impeachment process can be initiated, but I don't think he will actually be impeached. So yes, it looks like the gold and silver season will continue. If things keep going like this, but honestly, we have no idea what Trump will decide tomorrow. You know, there was that video. It's a big trend among foreigners, and lately it's also being talked about among Turks. Never reveal your next move. Trump doesn't reveal his next move in this way. I mean, today, suddenly everything in the world could be perfectly calm. Or the chaotic process could also continue. The current expectation is that the chaotic process will continue and that gold and silver will remain strong. But even in this process, I'm not giving up on my strong investments like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, and BNB. Around 20 to 25% of the portfolio can remain in gold. Another 20% can stay in the major altcoins I mentioned, and a portion of your total investments can remain in Bitcoin. This is how I'm continuing. I'm not completely hopeless. That's how financial markets are. When everyone is at their most pessimistic, the phoenix can rise again. I don't let go of caution. It's a risk. There's a lot of risk. Is the risk apparent? The risk is apparent. We are in a season where investment should be made cautiously. We continue to invest with caution. Thank you very much for watching. My dear friends, content about crypto will keep coming. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Hope to see you in the next video. Goodbye.